Hey everybody, this is Matt. I'm making a new Heroclix video, and this is for the June Civil War storyline organized play event. And I just want to talk about the event and how it went down, show you what I played, and show you some of the pieces I got. So, at the start of the event, you had to choose either pro registration or anti-registration, and you'll be sticking with that team throughout the entire event. But one time during the event, you can switch sides. So that's how we were playing it, and we were doing a 300 point sealed event. So we're not doing battle royales. We have a separate event for the battle royales because they're kind of trickier to play, and people have to sign up in squads of 4 and stuff for it to work and stuff. So we just separated that into a separate event. And so I traded away one of the figures I pulled, which was a Punisher. But I can talk about like how he played and what I liked and didn't like about it. But this was my team so far. It was Patriot, Silhouette, and Plunderer with the Punisher. And I'll just talk about like how the pieces work. So like the first piece was the Patriot, and I'm a huge Young Avengers fan. So I was so happy to get him. He's willpower, he's indomitable, which I love. He's 60 points. He has a, I think, is it traded? Is the willpower thing traded? Yeah, he has not the willpower. He has a leadership that he can leadership off of anybody else's Young Avengers, regardless of point value, which is so nice. He's the linchpin for like Young Avengers, and I'm so happy to have him. He's pretty good. He starts out with charge and ESD. If you are an anti-registration piece, you know you're going to be facing pro-registration pieces that are going to be shooting you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch my other video about Civil War. There's a lot more pro-registration pieces with running shot and with range and stuff like that. So, you know, having ESD starting out is really, really good. So what I did was I would charge in and punch somebody, and then I get hit for like 2 damage or something. And then I would be like, okay, sidestep and close combat expert was pretty dang good. And I would maybe like sidestep and like close combat expert somebody for some damage. I KO'd a bullseye that way, which is really, really nice. Um, at one point, like I ran out there and based somebody, and then I like got a crit hit with my Punisher and knocked him away, and then he got hit onto this flurry, and I was just a sit and duck basically with flurry out there in the middle of nowhere. But thankfully, he does have Indomitable, so I can move and base somebody and then next turn flurry them. But he didn't really survive that long. But as a close combat piece, I really liked him. He's 60 points, very affordable. I would definitely play him again, and I will with the Young Avengers. So the other piece I got was other piece on my team was Silhouette, and she's 60 points as well. 60 points as well. She has some stuff going on. She can ignore hindering for movement. She has this trait where basically, if she starts out the turn in hindering terrain, you can place her and a friendly character of the same size or smaller, 4 squares in a different direction in another piece of hindering terrain. So what I would do is I would like put these two like in or put her in hindering terrain and him next to her, and then clear them, and the next turn teleport on 4 squares in further on up in the field and have him attack. Because he was placed and he didn't actually move, he could actually make an attack. He didn't move and he wasn't carried. So because he was placed, he can make an attack. So that's what I did with Punisher in a little bit. But honestly, like she's really hard to hit because of the super senses and shape change. Her special damage is exploit weakness, shape change, and giant reach 2. So the giant reach 2 and exploit weakness helped out a little bit, but it was really hard to get her next to people with just phasing because she didn't have Indomitable. So I mean, but she is harder to hit with the super senses and shape change. So I think maybe I could have used her a lot better. Later on in her dial, she does get a lot better in my honest opinion. She loses the shape change, but she picks up close combat expert, and that's really nice for actually dealing damage. So, and then the last piece was Plunderer, or as my friend's son used to call, or started calling him, Plungerer. And he starts out with running shot, and he has his ability where if he shoots somebody and they can use impervious, invulnerability, or invincible, instead they can only use toughness this turn. So that was useful, but I never got to pull it off. I never got to pull him off. He was always like targeted down pretty quickly. The leadership I was able to pull off a little bit because he could leadership off a Patriot or Silhouette and stuff. because they were 60 points. But I really picked them for the running shot because I was really worried the pro registration pieces would have a lot of running shot, and I think this event boils down to who shoots who first, basically. So I picked him, and he ended up getting hit a lot, and he'd get hit and bounce on his stealth, and then I'd just be sitting there going like, well, I'm hiding behind block and terrain or something, like, and he doesn't start out with the willpower, so I never wanted to push him, I never wanted to push him off that invulnerability, so he'd often get just hit off the invulnerability, and I never got him to these clicks to see the psychic blast and stuff. So I never got to use him here, but because normally he'd get hit onto the willpower and then just boom, 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 willpower is not very tanky or anything. So he did okay. I maybe would play him again. I don't know if I would play Silhouette again, and I definitely would play Patriot again. I really did like the Patriot. So that was my team. The Punisher I don't have because I traded him because I was just disappointed with him. But basically, he starts out with 3 ammo tokens at the beginning of the game, and at any point you can take an ammo token off, and you can roll an extra dice. So if you want to roll 4 dice, you can take 2 ammo tokens off and choose the best 2 of the 4 dice, or 3 dice, or whatever. So that was really useful. Then also you can take a token off of him and be given a power action to make 2 ranged attacks. And I don't think it activates the damage depletion modifier, but I don't know. Like, he only starts out with running shot and then bounces onto run. No, he starts off with sidestep, then bounces onto running shot, and like, I wish he would have started out with running shot because then I could have used him a lot better, in my opinion. And he has no way to see into stealth. So at 2 times during the game, during my 3 games, I ran into a Taskmaster, and I think he's probably the strongest piece in the set, in my opinion. And Taskmaster's first click has stealth, so he would stay in stealth. Let's say this is Taskmaster because it kind of looks like him. He would stay in stealth, click to whatever click he wants, attack you, then go back to his first click and be in stealth again. And I just couldn't shoot him. I mean, Plunder couldn't hit him, Punisher couldn't do it, Silhouette would take forever to get next to him. Even if he got next to, even if you went up and based Taskmaster, he'd be like, okay, switching to outwit your defenses, bam, 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 you're dead, Taskmaster is just way too powerful in my honest opinion. And both the games I ran up against him, I lost. He destroyed my teams. So I was disappointed with the Punisher. The whole rolling extra dice was nice and fun, but I just couldn't do the damage. I couldn't do the damage with him. At one point, I got a crit hit on a bullseye, but I was doing the thing where you take a token off and do 2 attacks, but the first attack got a crit hit, so it knocked him back, and then he wasn't in my range anymore, so I couldn't make the second attack. It was kind of dumb. I don't know if that's why I traded away the Punisher, even though he's a rare. I don't think I'd want to play him again. But I did get a lot of pieces on my boosters I wish I could have played. Like, I pulled a lot of really good pro registration pieces like Mach 4, but I chose anti-registration, so I couldn't play them. Oopsie. Now, it is true that once per the event series, somebody can change teams. So next month, we're doing something where you get to choose one of your figures from your own collection that's a Civil War piece. And you can, if it's 100 points or less, you can use that in your team to make a 300-point team. And I'm really tempted to switch in teams to the pro registration team and playing Mach 4 for 90 points. Because he's so good. He has the longest reach in the set. He can go running shot, 6 squares, and a range of 7. So he can hit 13 squares away, and nobody else in the set can hit that far away. He has running shot, and he has absolutely broken ability. Absolutely busted. Justice like lightning trait. If he damages an opponent's character, he can roll a 5 or 6, and if he rolls that, he can roll a die, and on a 5 or 6, remove a token from either himself, an action token, from either himself or a friendly character with the Thunderbolts keyword within 4 squares. Now, to be fair, I've seen it be absolutely broken and absolutely worthless. I played my friend who had 2 Thunderbolt pieces and just couldn't roll the 5 or 6 at all. And then I watched him in a battle royale with similar pieces and just rolling it right back to back, 5 and 6, 5 and 6, 5 and 6. And you can't do much when it's just clear, 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 clear. You know, it's absolutely busted. He also has like leadership, and at 90 points, he's more points than almost everything else in the set. So he can leadership off of basically everybody. So he's an amazing piece. A friend gave me this piece, Wasp. As you might not already know, I love tiny characters. They're my favorite mechanic in the set. This Wasp is nutso. 70 points. Now, she may not be competitive in like a regular constructed play, but for Civil War, she's nutso. She has traded shape change, 18 defense super senses, and tiny size. That means if you're shooting her, you need a 19. You have to hit a 19, and you have to get through her shape change, and you need to get through her super senses. So it's like, oh look, plunger, you got a 10 attack. You need to hit a 9. Oh, but wait, I got my shape change. Okay. Next turn. Oh, okay, you got through my shape change, but you need to hit a 9. Oh, but I got my super senses. Oh, I mean, it's so frustrating. One of my opponents had Wasp and Taskmaster, and I was just like, I gave up. I was just like, oh, I don't even want to do this match. Like, he killed off like my entire team, but like Punisher, and I just gave up. I was just like, I can't shoot Taskmaster, and I just won't be able to hit Wasp. So, I mean, she's nutso. She's absolutely nutso. Um, and I mean, I got some cool pieces. My friend gave me a Captain America and a Spider-Man, and I think there's two of the strongest anti-registration pieces. But I will say this. I will say this. This is a huge disappointment of mine. Look how red these bases are. They are beautiful. These are supposed to be blue, people. I mean, you can compare it to a neutral piece. Where is she? Namorita is supposed to. Namorita is black, and Captain America is supposed to be blue. It's not very blue. I tell you, everybody expected him to be this blue. This blue. This was used for the Batman set. So you would have had a red base and a blue base. And that's how it should have happened. But instead we got this really, 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 really dark blue. That unless you compare it right next to a black piece, it's just almost unnoticeable. It's actually picking up better on the camera than it does in real life. It's really, really black. And that's really disappointing. Hey, Green Lantern Batman. And so that was one of my biggest gripes with the event. The other gripe was the bounty cards. The bounty cards have so little effect, and like it seemed like 75% of the time, they were just useless because the opponent didn't have the piece. Either it was pro versus pro or anti versus anti, so the cards were useless automatically, or they weren't running the pieces you had the cards for. Like I gave everybody like 4 cards, and even with 4 cards, oftentimes you still didn't have a card for any of the pieces your opponent had. So I think the bounty cards are just a horrible waste of time. I think these dials should really be blue, 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 blue. Overall, I think the set is good, but it's really unbalanced. The anti-registration pieces are weaker than the pro registration pieces because the pro registration pieces have such a good range. They have justice like lightning. They have a lot of stuff going for them. And I honestly see in upcoming months we're gonna have more and more people switching over to the pro registration side. And I wouldn't be surprised if next month we have 7 pro registrations players and 1 anti. I wouldn't be surprised. But that was how my event went. I hope you enjoyed the photos on the left side, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope you have fun playing Heroclix in the future, everybody. Bye bye.